Hi guys, this is Jane Johnson, founder of Ecclesia Framework and the Heavenly Realm Support Group on Facebook. Just some amazing things happening at the moment. I'm just really excited about all the doors that are opening, the revelation we're getting, which is just blowing our mind, which is more than just truth, academic knowledge. It is stepping into our authority, stepping into our scrolls, our mandates, and we are in a unique season spiritually, and I implore you to go to the deepest realms of heaven and explore what's your destiny, the greatest form of intimacy that you are meant and designed for. But I've been shown a message that I should have brought to you ages ago, and I kept putting off, and how do I phrase it, and it was very complex, and I really want to be obedient and share it with you today, and just really ask for your that you'd meditate on it, because it's a massive question around why do so many Christians who are totally in love with God, have a great relationship, know their Bible well, have been spent years investing in what is the deepest message, why do so many come up with so many different versions of what is the absolute truth, what is the blueprint for today, what is our end time theology? You name it, any question, we have multiple streams and denominations. How do you cleanse yourself? When are you perfect? Multiple different answers. And yet those Christians are seeking God to the greatest depth that they can. And this has really been bothering me, and I've been pursuing this question with wisdom and in heaven for a long time. And this is the wisdom that I feel has been downloaded to me, to the extent to which I can understand it, which is obviously will keep changing. But it's the extent to which a lot of us say we hear God, we see God. God is not leading me somewhere, and we're quite sure on that. We're very hesitant to go places that people say go, or do this or do that. Oh, God's not leading me. But what I was shown was we hear to the extent to which our gateways and the doors and our DNA are open in our lives. So what we're hearing currently is not the absolute end truth. Because subconsciously we will have blocked some gateways of our body, spirit and soul that will be hindering the revelation that God can get through to us. And that's the issue. We want to follow God, but God can't get through to us. So we're on this constant journey of living to really, what's the word? Constantly be working on those gateways, seeking that they're open, putting everything on the altar, every perception of what church is, what ecclesia is, how we do this, how we do that, putting that on the altar and saying that could change. God, if you want to show me something else, you show me. And that is the sort of principle really of opening gateways, that we refuse to say that one way is right or wrong, another way is ungodly, unbiblical. We release the fear of heresy, because heresy comes when you fear. If you constantly open your gateways and put everything on the altar, you're less likely to be in heresy than if you have a certain view, you're sure it's biblical, you've been told it by so many people, but that often has been because somebody has made a decision with partly closed gateways, has preached it a lot, has formed a network, has written books, thousands and millions of people have followed them, and it's become a doctrine. And because there's a huge following, people assume it's truth, and that's not how truth works. Truth is a constant revelation and progression of understanding, and you never make it. So you have to have this daily offering yourself as a living sacrifice. So what is happening is we're seeing people living out of different ages in different streams, networks, and that is why if you cross-pollinate, you will see these different ways of operating, and you'll realize there's a progression of ages in which we choose to operate out. We're not led by God to a particular age to be in. We are choosing by sometimes even subconsciously not knowing what gateways we've blocked in our body, soul and spirit. We're choosing a certain age that we're comfortable with. But if we can abandon that, if we can recognize that we may be closing off certain things daily, we cannot be threatened if someone comes to us and says, hey, there's a different way of doing it. We can openly explore. It doesn't threaten our security. It doesn't threaten our faith, because our faith is not based on the belief that we believe in this doctrine or that doctrine. Our faith is based on the fact that we have that relationship, we have that intimacy, we have that daily walk. That is our faith. That is our spirituality. And if we can move away from it being around doctrine, we're not going to be threatened. We can enter into this beautiful openness with God, that He could show us anything, however crazy. And to be honest, what we're showing at the moment, because we're not used to it, because we're born in a generation that has reaped so many, has traded on so many wrong floors, we now have traditional church that is done in a certain way, and we think that that is good because so many people have bought into it and believe in it and studied it and all that. But it's for centuries of trading on the wrong floor. And if those tradings change and we come up with, in 200 years' time, a completely different way of doing the ecclesia, but you were born into that, that's what you would say, oh, that's okay, that's normal. So you've got to think the big, big picture and realize how we can get to certain stages. How did we get to the barbaric living in the Middle Ages? It came because of centuries and centuries of wrong trading, which reduced our society to a barbaric status. We've traded on a lot better floors since then, so we've got more of a civil society in a lot of the world, not some. But that's the same with the ecclesia and the way we see church now. It is a consequence of multiple trading on multiple floors that has resulted in this format. So if we can let go of that format and say that it might be completely the opposite of what was ever intended. And we're seeing now to look not only at what is intended before the fall, but also the new Adam, which is how Adam would operate in the new heaven and the new earth that we see in Revelations 21 and 22. A lot of people now are seeing that a lot of the revelation, the prophecy there, has actually been fulfilled. If we wake up and we even entertain that concept that might be the case, we can realize that we actually could be very, very near. We could be a generation away from the fulfillment of what's happening in the last 2 chapters of Revelation. And that's what we're seeing, that we can begin to operate in those areas, and because the heaven is within, the river is within, everything that is in chapters 22 and 21 in the New Jerusalem represents us as the temple. Not a building, not a place we go to, not a local church. Us. And whatever way we morph and connect with others, that is the church. That is doing the ecclesia. So in conclusion, I guess I want to say to you, believe. Believe that you, no, not believe, open your mind to the fact that you're not always going to be led at this point in time to what is God wanting is your highest. And then you can open yourself up to the fact that there might be so many different ways that God wants to do things with you, but you're the one that's blocking. And so you're not waiting for God. God is waiting for you to get over some of these mindsets and realize you're not actually being led by God fully. And once we can release that, there's a huge freedom and a hunger that then comes, wow, I really want to change that. I know I do. I want to change that. And I want to be led at the deepest way. And even if it takes me to wacky ways that I didn't anticipate or even want in the early days, if we breathe that in, if we receive it, something changes in our DNA, and then we want it. And then we don't want the other way of doing church. So much has changed in me now. I do not want to sit there singing songs written by other people, listening to a general sermon at a much lower level than I'm operating at, trying to find some connection with somebody just because they live near me who is, you know, anywhere near the spiritual level I'm operating at. I want to go out there and I want to find in the world the people that I can connect with, who are linked with my scroll, my mountains, who are operating at the age I'm operating out of. And that's where the dynamic fellowship comes. So I hope that's been helpful. And I've got some other things I want to share with you, which I'll do another Periscope on shortly. Bless you.